Transit is poop. You know it's poop. I know it's poop. Everyone knows it's poop. It is straight up doo doo trash and is probably objectively the worst map gameplay wise that Treyarch has ever made. However, I do think that it had a lot of potential and it's just a shame that it wasn't able to be as good as a map as I think it could be. There's not much more I can say about the map that hasn't already been said in years past about how bad this map is. So I'll just briefly go over it and then I'll explain what I think could be done to further improve this map because I really do think that it could have been a really well made map and maybe even a fan favorite if things just were better about it. And while, yes, this map sucks, I do have to give it props for its atmosphere. I mean, coming off of Moon, where you just blew up the Earth, I think this is such a great idea for a map that they could have done, where it's like you have four survivors and you're kind of going on this grand tour around the map. You get to kind of see what happened to the Earth after the bombs hit it. So I think it's a really cool looking map. And I know it's all brown and kind of dull colors. I mean, what else can you expect? The world just got blown up. So I don't really hate the colors and all that. I think it fits the map perfectly. And yeah, so you have the Victus crew. And honestly, I don't really hate the Victus crew. I think they're all pretty good. I think Russman is the best. I think he has the best quotes. I feel like Boulanger, he's the weird one. He ate the zombie flesh or whatever, so you can hear Richtofen. And, Marlton, he's just some nerdy dude, but he has the same voice actor as Robin from Teen Titans Go, so I give him props there. All I can hear is Robin when he talks, and it honestly fits him. And then you also have Misty, and Misty's just kind of like some southern country girl who's kind of more like Dempsey. And so, yeah, some of them, I mean, I guess like Marlton and Stuhlinger, they can kind of have some annoying quotes, but honestly, I don't really mind them. I still think that they're pretty cool, and I think it was a really cool way to introduce them into a map like this. It's just a shame that really at least two of the three maps that they're on in Black Ops 2 are known to not be that good. And so, they're kind of always grouped in with that when you talk about them, about like the maps that they're on. But yeah, not much else to say about them. I think they're pretty cool and they fit the map pretty well. So to start off, you start off in Bus Depot with a couple of zombies EMP'd. And so because this is the first map to introduce buildables, first thing they have you do is build the turbine, and so you do have the option to just buy the door to get straight to the bus, but there's really no point in that. You're just wasting points because it's super easy to just build the turbine and use it. And it kind of shows you the utility of buildables and kind of what this new gameplay mechanic is about. I feel like buildables are just one of those things that kind of elevated zombies and made maps better. I feel like every map that has buildables is a good thing, and I'm really happy they implemented it. So first, I'll talk about the layout of the map. The way I like to see it is you have your main pieces of the map is where the bus stops, the diner, farm, power, and town, and bus depot, and then you have your subsectional areas, which would be the tunnel, the cornfield, and the little shack where the bus doesn't stop. Then you have your transitional pieces, which is where the fog and the bus just drives and there's nothing there. And so, you build the turbine and then you hop on the bus. And the bus is kind of lame, but also kind of cool. It's cool in the fact that you have a mode of transportation and it also comes with a B23R, which I think is a really good gun for early game. But the bus is cool in the fact that you can upgrade it with parts, but it's also kind of lame that it doesn't really do much, especially in the grand scheme of things. It can kind of be more annoying than anything. But anyway, so you get on the bus and you start heading over to the diner. And the diner doesn't have that much going for it. It has speed cola, it has parts for the shield. It might have a couple of bus parts. But the one thing that is nice about it is that it has the mystery box. And it is kind of nice that every single time you play this map, the mystery box will always be at the diner, the first bus stop. And it kind of just adds some consistency to this map, which is really needed for kind of how weird and bad it's laid out. And so I do like that they did that. Now, the thing is, if you end up building the shield, you're quickly going to find out you can only hold one buildable at a time. And that's just really annoying, but I'll get into that later. So we'll just say for the fact that you didn't build the shield, you build the turbine. So then there's not much to do. The bus honks, letting you know that it's ready to leave. You're most likely going to hop on it and it's going to take you to farm. Now at farm, there's really not much there. You have double tap and the fridge and a couple of wall weapons. And the fridge is cool because you can put in a gun in there and save it for another game that you want. Say like that you have to leave and you had like the hammer, which is a really good gun and it's like pack punched. You can at least store it so that next time you play you can pick it up. But yeah, farm, really there's not much going for it. I ended up usually not even buying the door to farm. I would just train around the bus and try to point whore. And so once again, not much to do at the farm. So you hear the bus honk, you hop in it, and you're headed to the power. Now, power is an interesting place. It's like the only contrast in all of the map because it's so bright and white. Now, the nice thing about it is there's the AK-74U wall buy there, which is what I usually buy because it's just a good weapon. But yeah, so because this map introduced buildables, guess what? You're gonna have to build the power switch, which it's whatever. It's cool. I'm happy I believe they only did it on this map. But you build the power switch, you turn it on, and then you have to wait for a cutscene. And the cutscene spawns the Avogadro in. And so far everything is not that bad. You got power on, you're ready to catch up to the bus. But then here's where the first problem comes in. If you are playing the map blind for like your first time, you are like 100% probably or 90% to miss the bus after you turn on power. And this is kind of where the map takes a turn for the worst. So far, everything was good. Everything was smooth because there wasn't much to do in these areas, but the novelty of it is still there. And so you're still kind of excited for it. So then as you're running toward the bus, you heard it honk and it's going to leave you. And it's still kind of like, oh, this is exciting. What's going to happen now that the bus leaves? So most likely you're going to try to chase the bus. And that's when you find the Denizens. They're these weird little monkey things and are just not a good gameplay mechanic because they stop you from running and they force you to knife them and they're just a nuisance. And I get the whole idea behind it is with the fog and the Denizens are to slow your movement, I guess, so the game can load up the map properly or something like that. But they're just not fun and they end up being just very annoying. So you get your face clawed and eventually you catch up to the bus in town. And town is where you would have Pack-a-Punch. But in order to access Pack-a-Punch, back at power, you had to drop your turbine where you first enter in, and you have to pray that no zombies or the turbine just didn't break. So, you open the bank, you throw the grenades at the doors, and you hope the turbine's still on. It gives you the ability to Pack-a-Punch. So you go down there, and what do you know? You gotta build the Pack-a-Punch. And really, it's not that big of a deal because everything is so close, but this is kind of close quarters. And so it can make things a little tight, especially if you decided not to chase after the bus and you waited for it. You'd have to wait for a decently long time for the bus. But yeah, you build Pack-a-Punch, you hopefully get your gun Pack-a-Punched. Or maybe you were hoping for a better weapon. Turns out the town doesn't have a wall weapon. I don't know what Treyarch was thinking. I feel like every single main location should have at least had a wall weapon. And maybe they could have, judging by the way the map goes off, is that every single destination, the wall weapons would get better. I think it would just make sense because if you are following the map how it's supposed to by just riding the bus, then town would be your last stop. I think it should have a decent wall weapon, but it doesn't. So you Pack-a-Punch whatever weapon you got, probably from the mystery box at the diner. You hope it's good. And then the problem also comes with if you wanted to Pack-a-Punch again, you have to replace your turbine every single time at the power. And it's like at one point, I kind of understand it. They wanted to give a reason for why you have to go back to the power location because the bus does stop there, but it doesn't play out that well. It makes it annoying because it makes every other buildable inferior. The turbine, it can open some special doors. It opens up Pack-a-Punch for you. And so you're going to want a good weapon. And so it basically forces you to always carry the turbine, which is just really weird. So that's all of the big portions of the map. So now you have your side locations. And the side locations are really there for one thing. It's either Easter egg or the wonder weapon part. And the wonder weapon is the jet gun. And, it's a buildable because everything in this map had to be a buildable. And the whole problem with it is that you have to run through the fog. And that means you're going to get your eyes gouged out by the Denizens. And the whole thing, like, if we go back to my big problem with Moon, it was that it kind of forces you to walk instead of run. It punishes you for running because you get like yeeted out into whatever direction you were facing. In this map, they do the same thing, except it's with the Denizens. If you end up not following the bus and just running on your own, which is most likely faster because you don't have to wait around for anything, you can kind of do whatever you want and then start heading to the next location, you're going to be punished by the Denizens. And you can only hold one part. That's another problem. The fact that you can only hold one part makes it super tedious where you have to go back and forth to every single location where you have to pick up a part, take it to a table, craft, build it, get another part. It's just a lot of downtime and that just really sucks. So you finally build the jet gun. You're ready to use the special weapon of the map, the wonder weapon. It should be pretty good. You worked really hard for it. You use it for like 20 seconds and it probably does kill a decent amount of zombies. You're probably like, oh, this is pretty good. And then it breaks. And it's just kind of like, why? So, you probably go back to the table to hope that it's there and it's not. Turns out every single time it breaks, you have to go back and build it. It just doesn't make sense. I spent so much time trying to craft this weapon and then it breaks on you almost immediately. And then I have to go and do it again. It's not thought out that well. And it's just really annoying. So overall, when you play Transit, you just start to realize kind of how poorly designed the map is and kind of how annoying it can be to play. Now, I will say, when you're playing with friends, you guys all basically acknowledge that this map is bad. And so you can have fun with it. But when you're playing solo, it's just not that enjoyable. It's like cool for maybe the first 1 or 2 times you come back to play it. But after that, you're already tired of it. That's how I was. But yeah, that's really all I had to say about the map. Once again, every complaint about this map has already been said. There's not much more I can add to it. So from here on, I just want to talk about things I would change about the map to make it better. So first off is the bus. That's really the main problem where the bus dictates how you move around the map. And I feel like it should be better. And so what I would do is at every main location and secondary location, meaning like, the cornfield, the shack and the tunnel, what I would do is I would put either like a bus ticket or like the deed to the bus at these locations. And so basically you pick up all these like paper things and you give them to Ted. And once you give all of them to Ted, it's like you have ownership of the bus. And what it would allow you to do is kind of similar to Shadows of Evil with its tram. I would make it to where you can choose the location of where you want the bus to go. And you can even make it cost like 500 points, maybe even 1,000 points if you want. And so what this would do is it would allow you from any location that you're at to get to any other location in one trip. It doesn't stop anywhere. It just goes straight to where you said it would. And I would say it also balances it out because the fact that you have to pick up the parts at each location means that for your very first time around the map, you're going to have to play Transit the way the developers intended you to play it, which is you are dictated by the bus. But at least it would make every subsequent loop around the map a lot easier. And it also forces you to explore the map and go to the subsections. So say like you didn't want the jet gun, it still kind of forces you around there because you would want to basically upgrade the bus into like a super bus that kind of follows what you say. The other thing I would do is I would also put bus stops at every single location. And that way you can, even if the bus isn't with you, you can still call it over. And so it's not a lot of downtime. So for example, say like you were at Power and the bus left you, and say like you're not that experienced of a player, you're playing with 3 other people. And so you just stay at Power waiting for the bus to come. You'd have to be waiting a really long time in order for the bus to come back in order to take you to town. So at least in this scenario, you can at least call the bus over, but I would only make this after you get all the bus tickets or the deed. And that way you can't just kind of manipulate it on your first loop. I would make it so that your very first loop around the map, you're forced to play it how it was intended. And then after that, it kind of opens up to you can control the bus once you get all the parts. And so I think this would really help the maneuverability around the map, the transportation around the map a lot better. The second thing I would change is how buildables work. You can do this in 2 ways. I would either make it so that you can either hold all parts of one individual utility or you can just hold everything because it's just really annoying to having to go back and forth, find the piece, build it, find another piece, build it. It's just so much downtime around this map that you kind of need to speed it up. And so either holding all the pieces, while I can kind of see can be maybe a little too much, if you can at least hold all the pieces of one thing until you craft it. And then I would also make it where you can have at least 2 buildables on you. So it's like I can either have the turbine or the shield, or I can have the shield and the jet gun and stuff like that. That would really help the map. I would also make it so that you can add every single crafting bench to the bus. And so that you kind of have a moving utility unit where you can have the jet gun on the bus, you can have the shield on the bus and stuff like that. You can even have the turbine on the bus. And so say like you wanted to pack a punch, but you were carrying a shield around. Well, if you had all the bus tickets, then you can call the bus over to the power station, pick up the turbine, place it down, and then hop back in the bus and tell it to go straight to town. That way there is no waiting, and that it would make it simpler. But also the thing with pack a punches, I would just make it a one-time deal. There's no reason that every time you have to pack a punch, you need the turbine down there. Or really, maybe it's okay with the way I did it, where you can kind of call the bus that has the buildables on it. So either way is really fine. I would probably prefer if it was just a one and done deal, just so you never have to go back there again. I think it would also be kind of cool if you could have pack a punch on the bus, and that way it's like another upgrade to the bus where every time you need to pack a punch, you just have to call the bus over and it'll have everything that you need on there. I think that'd be really cool. In fact, you could even make it like a side Easter egg where you have to like pick up parts for like a crafting table to mod onto the bus. And that would just kind of give you more things to do around the map. Because a really big problem with this map is there's a lot of downtime and there isn't that much to do on this map that is at least worth doing. And the next thing I would fix is the denizens. I don't exactly know how you can fix the denizens. The one nice thing about them is that if you take them to a street lamp, they can be used as a teleporter. And this is really nice to get around the map. But the problem is that it's RNG. And with the map as big as Transit, it's not very reliable, especially with the fog. Sometimes I would end up getting disoriented and not know which way I actually wanted to go. So I would make it so that it's kind of telegraphed to where you would teleport. I would also make it so that it's permanent. So every lamppost will have a teleporter, and you can either make it where it's a specific destination that'll teleport you to, or it'll just tell you where your next teleportation would be by like a little sign on it, maybe inside the portal or something like that. I think that would help a lot. But as for the denizens themselves kind of slowing you down, maybe what they should have is like a cooldown where like only one can attack you every 30 seconds or something like that. Because as of right now, it's like once you kill one, the next one's coming at you like almost immediately. So maybe that can help. But yeah, that's all I really had to say about the map. Once again, a really bad map. It can be fun with friends, but even then, it's still not that good. And I do think it had the potential to be a decent map, but everything wasn't implemented that well. And I mean, there are always talks every single time Treyarch's gonna release a new game. They're like, oh, they're gonna remake Transit. And we hear it every time. Maybe Black Ops 6 will be the first time. Maybe it won't. But if we do end up ever seeing a remake of this map, I do think the ideas that I thought of could help improve it. And yeah, that's really all I have to say. Do you have any other ideas for how you would improve Transit? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read about them. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video where I play Die Rise. See ya.